Welcome to the Proving Grounds, everybody. This is Jose, and with that, we are about to start Bash Lab 101. And in this lab, the goal is getting information. We're going to try to get information about the CPU. We're going to try to check the specs on the RAM that's installed, and we are going to try some of the scripting commands in order to be able to check the BIOS version. Quite honestly, not every one of these scripts is going to work, and not because I failed immensely, but because in some instances I may need to be in admin mode at root. Sometimes sudo may not work. With that in mind, I'm just putting you in the right perspective so that way you don't get disappointed if something doesn't work. But for the most part, I am expecting some things to work. So, first, let's bring up a machine. And we'll expand that so that way it's easier to read. And we will bring up a terminal. Now, first things first, we want to find a CPU. We want to find the information of the CPU on this specific computer. And the command we're going to use is lscpu. Now, my layman's interpretation of this command is ls meaning list. So it's going to be list CPU or list CPU information. So we'll go with that and enter, and it does, and it beautifully gives us a lot of information. The architecture, the modes, how many bits physical and virtual, how many cores, and also the cache information. All good stuff, all useful. If you're in a rush, you're not going to care too much, but if you actually want more detail and you are very qualified in figuring this stuff out and quite honestly pulling out some amazing shit, then go for it. Now with that, I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to move on to another command. Now this is actually more of a series of commands and they're very similar. And we're going to start with grep MemTotal. It's more than that, but I might as well type it in and get that out of the way. So let's see if this works, because I think in my mind grep is normally like after you write up a script and then you do a pipe to add more to it, but I could be wrong. So, but we got this MemTotal and it's going through this path. Proc meminfo. And we hit enter, and this gives us our memory total, which is pretty cool. I like that. Now if we go into sudo and put demidecode and space dash dash type 17, and this is what we get. It asks me for my password. It made it a lot easier to understand as far as the memory information. Nice and clean, nice and neat. There's going to be another variant of that. Same thing, but now we have a pipe and we type more. Let's see what happens. Whoa. So it went from there which kept it clear, and then we hit, I guess we hit more. Every time I hit enter, I get more. It's pretty cool. Not really much for backing up and going the other direction. Then again, I spoke too soon. We could just go with less. Same thing. Let's see. Voltage unknown, configure. How about if I put 25? It brought me to the end. Alright, now, how about if we wanted to get some more speed out of this thing? Let's see. I'm going to pull up another terminal. Go in here, and there it is. Now, we did that. That didn't work too well. But if we backspace and we do grep -I, and we're looking for speed. Let's go for it. Let's see what it gives us. Yes, my password. It gives me the speed. I like it. Nice and clean. Now, what if we want to know more about the memory instead of the speed? And there's the configured speed. Now, the configured memory speed. There you go. Now, what else have we got? What if the ISP was, come on, let's do this again. Grep capital A 15 -I memory, and let's say we give memory a capital M, and then we hit enter. No such file or directory. Well, that hurts. Well, see, like I did mention, some of the scripts may not work. That's okay. We do have one more, and this one doesn't require a sudo. It's demidecode, and it is, where is it? Where am I writing? There you are. Decode dash 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 type. Not typer, type memory. And there you go. In the end, permissions were denied. What if I did sudo first? Now it worked. Pretty cool. I'm liking it. But we're not done yet. We still have a few more to check. This is just on the topic of memory. CPU information, we don't get very much. Memory checks, we can do quite a bit apparently. Remember how we mentioned lshw earlier? Well, we can do something with that again here too. First, let me clear this out. Now, sudo lshw, and let's say we put in short. And capital C for memory. I keep forgetting what a capital C means, but we'll figure this out. And memory. Hello, that's actually pretty neat. The hardware path, classification, also information of its cache, how big the memory is. If it's a DIMM, it's DDR3. This is actually a nice little report. Now, what other options do we have? We have free. Nice. And if we do free space -m, what will we get? Even shorter. That's actually pretty good. Well, with that, we've covered just about everything that we need for memory. So the last script that we're going to be using is scripts in order to be able to check our BIOS version. So with that, we're going to clear, and we are going to look at check BIOS version using sudo demidecode if I learn how to spell demidecode pipe less. Not bad. So we're getting some information on the BIOS right there. And if I clear this out, this is what happens when you try to get all the way to the end. So from there, I will open up another terminal because I do not have time to wait. Now we can do sudo dmi decode -s BIOS version. And here we go. And there you go, we got our BIOS version. Now, we could do the same thing, but instead, we can put in, let's see here, leave that as BIOS there. Okay, so DMI decode, and then we have dash dash type and BIOS, and there's our information, and we don't have to worry about having to break out of anything. We're good. And then we have, this is a long one to type, but I'm going to do it for you. We're going to concatenate and follow this path. Sys cache, actually class. We all want cache. Let's see. DMI. ID or id. BIOS version. I know we're not done yet. After the version, ls space dash l space sys and then the class DMI ID. And when we put that in, there's an invalid operation on L. Alright. So let's change this before I spaz out. Unrecognized option. Obviously, this script I have mangled somehow. But let's not let that take away from what we've accomplished. We've done a couple scripts, 3 scripts in order to be able to check the BIOS version. We had used the free commands and the lshw commands in order to be able to get memory information, as well as demidecode and typing the memory. And for the CPU, we do have lscpu, which will give us information about the processor. So with that, I'm going to let you go because this is quite a bit, and I do need to practice with it myself in order to be a little bit more competent. But we got it out there. You got some commentary, and you have an idea what to do with it. So come on, everybody, let's make something happen.